The Texas Panhandle in late October carried a particular kind of silence, the kind that wasn't really silence at all, but a layered composition of wind cutting through dry mesquite, cattle shifting their weight in the red dirt, and the occasional creak of weathered wood expanding and contracting under a sun that still burned hot even as the calendar threatened November. Cole Hardin noticed all of it. He always had. At 34, Cole had spent more of his life outdoors than inside any building, and his body showed it. Skin the color of saddle leather, hands thick with calluses that no amount of time would soften, a jaw that hadn't seen a razor in 4 days and didn't apologize for it. He was not a large man by Texas standards, but he was solid in the way that working men become solid, not from a gym, but from 10,000 mornings of lifting, hauling, mending, and moving through resistant earth. He pulled the brim of his hat lower against the afternoon glare and walked the fence line of the East Corral, checking the posts the way he did every Tuesday. The Alderman Ranch covered about 1,800 acres of flat, wind-scraped land 12 miles outside Amarillo, and Cole had been working it for 6 years. Before that, he'd worked 2 other ranches in the Panhandle, one spread in New Mexico, and a brief, disastrous stretch in Colorado that he didn't talk about. He wasn't running from anything. He just moved the way some men did, following the work, following the land, never quite finding a reason to stop somewhere permanently. The Alderman family paid fair, kept their word, and left him alone. That was enough. He was halfway down the fence line when he heard it, a soft sound, almost swallowed by the wind. He stopped and turned. A little girl sat on an overturned wooden crate near the corner post of the corral, maybe 20 feet from where he stood. She was small, probably 6 or 7 years old, wearing a yellow jacket that looked freshly bought and clean boots that had never touched real mud. Her hair was dark brown, pulled into 2 uneven pigtails that suggested she'd done them herself or had help from someone who'd been in a hurry. Her hands rested in her lap and her face was tilted slightly upward and to the right, not looking at anything. Or rather, looking at everything in the particular way that blind people sometimes did, drinking in the world through the other 4 senses. Her eyes were open. They were a pale, gray-green, beautiful, and still, and they moved slightly but didn't track, didn't fix. Cole understood immediately. He'd known a blind man once, an old farrier named Donald Price, who'd lost most of his sight to diabetes and still insisted on working horses by feel and sound alone. Donald had taught Cole more about patience than any person before or since. The girl didn't react to Cole's presence. The wind had been at his back, carrying his sound away from her. He stood still for a moment, uncertain what to do. She wasn't on Alderman land, she was just outside the fence line, on the narrow strip of gravel and scrub grass that ran between the corral and the dirt road. Technically, it was Western property. The old Western parcel bordered the Alderman Ranch to the southeast, about 400 acres of land that had been sitting mostly unused for years. Cole knew the property changed hands. Some corporation bought it, according to Roy Alderman, but he'd never seen anyone use it. Never seen lights on in the small house visible in the distance. Never seen a car on that road, except for the occasional county truck. He cleared his throat gently. The girl's head turned immediately, precisely, toward the sound. "Hi there," Cole said. "Hi," she said. Her voice was small but steady, with no trace of fear. Kids who grew up depending on their hearing developed a different relationship with sound. They learned early to read a voice the way sighted people read a face. "You all right?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For the cows," she said, entirely seriously. "I like the sound they make. And the smell." Cole almost smiled. "You like the smell of cattle?" "It smells like outside," she said, as if that explained everything. It did, actually. He studied her for a second. She was calm, not lost, not distressed. Someone knew she was here, or would know soon. It wasn't his place to interrogate a 7-year-old. "I'm Cole," he said. "I'm Lily," she said. "You from around here, Lily?" "We're staying at the house," she said, gesturing vaguely behind her in the direction of the western property. "My mom brought me." "Well," Cole said, "You're welcome to sit there. Just stay on that side of the fence, all right? The cattle won't bother you, but some of them are skittish." "Okay," she said. He went back to checking fence posts. But after a few minutes, he found himself glancing over at her. She sat perfectly still, face tilted up, listening. A huffer lowed from somewhere near the water trough, and the girl's lips curved into a small smile. Cole watched that smile and felt something loosen slightly in his chest, some small knot he hadn't known was there. He finished the fence line, walked back toward the tool shed, and on impulse he pulled his old guitar from the back of his truck. He kept it there most days. It'd been there so long it was practically structural. He sat on the tailgate 15 feet from where Lily sat on her crate, and without really deciding to, he began to play. Nothing formal. Just a simple finger-picked melody in G, the kind his mother had hummed when he was small, a half-remembered folk song that had no particular title in his mind. His voice came in low, almost under his breath. "Down by the river where the cottonwoods grow, the water runs shallow and the cattails blow. The sun falls easy on the amber ground, and the world gets quiet with a simple sound." He didn't look at Lily while he sang. He looked out at the corral, at the way the evening light was turning the dust gold, but he heard her. A soft intake of breath, and then nothing. Absolute stillness, or the kind of stillness that meant listening. He played for maybe 10 minutes. When he looked over, Lily was smiling the way children smile when something reaches them in the deep place, the place before language. "That was pretty," she said. "Thanks," Cole said. "Do you know more?" He looked at the sun, gauging the time. He had work still, the evening feed, a gate to rehang on the west pasture. He should go. "Yeah," he said. "I know a few more." He played 3 more songs before the light got low. Lily asked him the name of each one, and when he didn't have names for them, she gave them her own. The cow song, the wind one, the sleepy one. Cole accepted each name with a nod, as if they were official. When a woman's voice called from the direction of the Weston house, "Lily, Lily, come in." The girl stood up immediately, brushed off her jacket, and picked up a small white cane that had been leaning against the fence post. She oriented herself with practiced efficiency and turned toward the voice. "Will you play again tomorrow?" she asked. Cole hesitated. "Might be," he said. She nodded, satisfied with that, and walked carefully but confidently across the scrubby ground toward the house. Cole watched her go. He watched the house, too, a modest structure by the standards of what he imagined a corporation might own. A single-story ranch house with a covered porch and a new truck parked in the gravel drive. The kind of truck that cost as much as he made in 2 years. He saw the woman come out onto the porch. She took Lily's hand. She didn't look in his direction. Cole put his guitar back in the truck and went to hang the gate. That night, in the small foreman's house that came with his job, 2 rooms, a propane heater, a kitchen that needed a new faucet. Cole ate reheated chili and thought about nothing in particular. He thought about the fence post that was rotting at the base. He thought about whether the heifer with the swollen fetlock needed the vet or just more time. He thought about the way Lily had titled her face up at the sky while he sang, like a sunflower that had found its particular source of light. He didn't think about the woman on the porch. He told himself that, and it was almost true. The next afternoon, Lily was back on her crate. Cole didn't say anything about it. He finished his work on the water line, washed his hands at the outdoor tap, dried them on his jeans, and got his guitar. He played the cow song first, because she'd asked for it by name. She laughed, a real child's laugh, unguarded and bright, and the sound of it scattered across the dusty air like something released. This became the pattern. Cole would work until the light softened, and then he would play. Lily would sit on her crate, and she would listen, and sometimes she would sing along to the parts she'd memorized, her small voice threading through his like a needle through cloth. They talked between songs, about the cattle, about the weather, about the names of things. Lily asked him to describe colors, and he tried his best, inventing comparisons he'd never used before. "What does red look like?" she asked once. Cole thought for a long moment. "It feels like the heat off the hood of a truck in July," he said. "It's not gentle. It wants your attention. Lily considered this. I like red, she decided. I figured you might, Cole said. He never asked about her mother. He never asked why they were staying at the Weston house, or for how long. Those felt like questions that belonged to a different kind of conversation. The adult kind, the complicated kind. What existed between Cole and Lily was simple, and Cole was wise enough to know that the simple things were worth protecting. On the 5th day, he saw Diane Weston for the first time. Not the silhouette on the porch, not the distant voice calling Lily in for dinner. He saw her properly. He was loading a roll of wire onto his truck when he heard the gate at the end of the gravel road open, and a woman walked through carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. She stopped when she saw him. He stopped when he saw her. She was not what he expected, though he hadn't known he had expectations. She was perhaps 38 or 39, tall in flat boots, wearing dark trousers and a cream-colored shirt that was either very expensive or very old, the kind of simple that only came from quality or history. Her hair was dark like Lily's, cut to her jaw, and she had the kind of face that made you feel you'd seen it before, not because it was a famous face, but because it was an honest one, the kind that didn't bother with performance. She was also, visibly, exhausted. Not from lack of sleep necessarily, but from the kind of long depletion that accumulated over years. You must be the one who sings, she said. Her voice was direct, not unfriendly, but not soft either. Cole Harden, he said. I work for the Aldermans, Diane Weston, she said. She held out one of the cups. I brought coffee. Lily told me you'd be here. Cole took the cup, surprised enough that he didn't have an immediate response. He looked at the cup, then at her. I wanted to say thank you, she said. Her voice was steady, but something flickered briefly behind her eyes, something she had practiced at controlling. She hasn't laughed like that in a long time. Cole nodded slowly. She's a good kid, he said. Smart. Yes, Diane said, and the word came out carrying something enormous underneath it, the weight of a mother who knew exactly how extraordinary her child was and had spent too much time too far away to show it. Cole drank his coffee and said nothing. Some silences didn't need filling. I hope she's not a bother, Diane said. She's not, Cole said. It was simple and true. Diane nodded. She looked out at the corral, at the cattle, at the flat expanse of land, at the sky that was already beginning its late afternoon theater of pinks and oranges. She seemed to be recalibrating something internally. We'll be here another 2 weeks, she said. Maybe 3. Okay, Cole said. She handed him nothing else, no explanation, no biography, no justification. She turned and walked back toward the gate. Cole watched her go the same way he'd watched Lily the first day, carefully, without knowing why. What Cole didn't know, what he wouldn't know for some time, was that Diane Weston had been standing behind that gate every afternoon for 3 days before she introduced herself, that she had watched him play, watched Lily laugh, watched a worn-out cowboy with a second-hand guitar give her daughter more peace in 40 minutes than Diane had been able to give her in months. And what Cole couldn't have known was that, standing there behind the gate, watching that, Diane Weston had cried for the first time in 2 years. Not from sadness, exactly. From something cracking open. The Weston name meant something in Texas, though not in the way old cattle money meant something. It wasn't a name carved into the founding stories of ranches and counties. It was a newer kind of Texas power, the kind built in glass office towers in Dallas and Houston, in conference rooms and server farms and venture capital portfolios. Diane Weston had founded Agricourt Solutions at 31. After 3 years of watching her father's drought-ruined farm in the Panhandle fail in slow motion. She had a master's in agricultural engineering from Texas A&M and a fury that had nowhere useful to go. So she aimed it at the inefficiencies she saw everywhere in modern farming. The water waste, the outdated irrigation logic, the gap between what technology could do and what farmers were actually using. Agricor built sensor systems and predictive software for large-scale agriculture. Within 4 years, it was operating in 11 states. Within 7, it had contracts in Brazil, Australia, and Spain. By the time Diane was 38, Agricor was valued at just over $4 billion. By the time Lily was 3, Diane's marriage to Warren Voss, a Dallas real estate developer she'd met at a fundraiser and married too quickly, was quietly failing. By the time Lily was 5, it was publicly failing. The divorce had been civil in the legal sense and brutal in every other sense. Warren was not a cruel man, but he was a competitive one, and he'd never quite forgiven Diane for building something larger than anything he'd managed. The divorce settlement gave Diane full custody of Lily, a fact that Warren contested for 18 months before the courts settled it finally and irrevocably in Diane's favor. Lily's blindness was congenital, a condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis, identified when she was 4 months old. It had no cure and no real treatment, only adaptation. Lily had adapted with a thoroughness that left doctors quietly amazed and her mother silently undone. The child had built a complete internal world from sound, texture, smell, and the rich geography of her own imagination. She was, by any measure, thriving. Her mother was not. Diane had spent 5 years operating at a level of intensity that left no room for the ordinary textures of life. She had attended every medical appointment, hired every specialist, secured the best educational resources available, but she hadn't done all of it at a remove, coordinating Lily's life like a logistics operation rather than living it alongside her. Her assistant, Rachel Simmons, had been present for more of Lily's afternoons than Diane had. This was not cruelty. It was the particular tragedy of a woman who had learned to solve problems and discovered, too late, that love was not a problem. The 2 weeks in Amarillo had been Rachel's idea, actually. "You own the property," Rachel had said, with the careful bluntness of someone who'd earned the right to say hard things. "You haven't been there in 3 years. Take Lily. Take no meetings for 2 weeks. See what happens." Diane had not expected anything to happen. She had not expected Cole Hardin. The morning after she'd brought him coffee, Diane sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open, staring at a quarterly report without reading it. Through the window, she could see the flat land stretching toward the Alderman Ranch's fence line, the water tower in the distance, the pale blue enormity of the Texas sky. Lily was in the living room listening to an audiobook. Her small voice sometimes murmured along with the narrator or asked clarifying questions aloud that were directed at no one, a habit she'd had since she was very young. Diane listened to it from the kitchen and felt the familiar, complicated ache. She thought about what Cole had said. "She's a good kid." 3 words, completely unadorned, no performance in them. He hadn't said it because she was Diane Weston's daughter, or because Diane was standing there, or because it was the polite thing to say. He'd said it because he meant it, and he meant it because he'd spent a week paying attention. That was the part that had reached her, not the singing, though the singing was something else entirely. The attention, the simple, unglamorous act of giving a child your full presence. Diane closed the quarterly report. She started going out to the fence line earlier. Not every day. She didn't want to impose on whatever Cole and Lily had established. Didn't want to change the chemistry of it with her presence. But some afternoons she would bring a folding chair and sit a respectful distance back from the fence, close enough to hear without being part of it. Cole noticed. He said nothing for 2 days, and then on the 3rd day, he looked over his shoulder and said, "You're welcome to come closer. I don't bite, and neither do the cows." Diane smiled despite herself. She moved her chair to the fence. Watching Cole with Lily was disorienting in the way that witnessing genuine unself-consciousness always was. He didn't perform for the child. He didn't modify his vocabulary or use the particular bright condescension that many adults defaulted to around children. He talked to Lily the way he might talk to any person, directly, plainly, with patient attention to her responses. When she asked difficult questions, he thought about them before answering. When she made a joke, he laughed because it was funny, not because she needed encouragement. He was playing one afternoon, the wind one, as Lily had named it, when Diane said quietly, "Where did you learn to play like that?" Cole kept playing for a measure before he answered. "My uncle taught me the chords," he said. "The rest I just worked out. Did you ever think about doing something with it?" He considered the question without apparent defensiveness. "I think about it sometimes," he said. "I never wanted it to become work, I guess. Once it's work, it changes." Diane looked at him. "Some people find meaning in work." "Some do," he agreed. There was no edge in it. He wasn't pushing back at her, just acknowledging the difference. "I find meaning in this," he said, with a small gesture that seemed to encompass the land, the cattle, the evening light, Lily on her crate. Different people, different answers. Diane looked at the land and tried to remember the last time she had found something meaningful in stillness. She couldn't locate the memory. They fell into a habit without deciding to. Cole would finish his afternoon work, and Lily would be on her crate, and Diane would be in her folding chair, and Cole would play for an hour or so while the sun made its long descent. Sometimes Diane and Cole talked across Lily, adult conversation that braided itself around the child's occasional interjections. They talked about the ranch, the soil, the water issues, the cost of feed. Cole knew these things with the specificity of someone who lived inside them. Diane knew them too, but from the data side, the trends, the projections, the macroeconomic pressure on small and mid-sized cattle operations. "The Aldermans are going to have a hard next 5 years, Diane said one evening. "I know," Cole said. "There's technology that could help their water efficiency by 40%, she said. "I could put them in touch with—" "Roy Alderman wouldn't take it," Cole said simply. "He doesn't trust things he can't put his hands on." Diane frowned slightly. "That's not a reasonable position in 2024. "Maybe not," Cole said. "But it's his position, and it's his ranch." There was something in his tone, not criticism, just recognition, the kind of respect that didn't require agreement. Diane turned it over in her mind and said nothing. Later, walking back to the house with Lily's hand in hers, she thought about the distinction he'd drawn. She spent her professional life persuading people to adopt systems and frameworks they didn't fully understand. She was very good at it. She had never, not once, thought about whether the refusal had a dignity worth acknowledging. On a Wednesday evening in the second week, Roy Alderman himself appeared at the East Corral fence. He was 62, broad, slow-moving, with a gray mustache and the manner of a man who distrusted anything that moved too fast. He tipped his hat at Diane with old-fashioned formality. "Miss Weston," he said, "didn't know you were out at the property." "Just a short stay," she said. Roy looked at Cole, then at Lily, then back at Diane with the expressionless assessment of a man who had spent his life reading weather and situations. He didn't say anything about what he'd observed. Cole playing, Lily listening, Diane sitting in her folding chair as if she'd been doing it for years. He just filed it, the way the land filed things, quietly. "Cole," he said, "that west windmill's throwing sparks again." "I'll get out there before dark," Cole said. Roy nodded. He turned to go, then paused. He looked at Lily. "Pretty voice, young lady," he said, though Lily hadn't been singing at that moment. Lily beamed. "Thank you," she said. "Cole taught me the sleepy one." Roy looked at Cole. Something shifted in the older man's face. Not quite a smile, but adjacent to one. "Didn't know you were musical, Hardin," he said. "Never came up," Cole said. Roy made a sound that might have been a laugh and walked away. That night, alone in the ranch house kitchen, Diane called her business partner Marcus Webb in Dallas. Marcus had been with her since the beginning. He was the operational mind to her engineering vision. A meticulous 50-year-old with silver-framed glasses and a gift for anticipating problems before they became emergencies. "How's the retreat?" he asked, with the careful neutrality of someone who had been instructed not to call it a retreat. It's fine, Diane said. It's good, actually. The word came out slightly surprised. Lily's okay? She's good. Diane paused. She found someone to sing to her. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What does that mean? It means she's happy, Diane said. She's laughing. She's sleeping without the nightmares. That's good, Marcus said, and his voice warmed slightly into something less professional. He had known Lily since she was an infant, who's singing to her. Diane looked out the dark kitchen window. A cowboy, she said. Marcus laughed, a short, genuine laugh. Of course, he said. Of course it's a cowboy. Diane smiled at the dark window. Don't read into it, she said. I'm not reading anything, Marcus said. I'm just noting that you called me at 9 p.m. on a weeknight, and you sound like a person. What does that mean? It means you usually sound like a company, Marcus said. Get some sleep, Diane. She stood at the window for a long time after hanging up. The panhandle dark was complete. No ambient light from the city, just stars so dense they seemed structural, like the sky needed them to stay up. She hadn't seen a sky like this in years. Dallas had a sky, technically, but it was a diminished thing, pushed back by light pollution and the perpetual orangish haze of the city. She thought about what Marcus had said. You sound like a person. She put her hand flat on the cold window glass. She did not let herself think about Cole Hardin. She was a disciplined woman, and she applied that discipline here. But she thought about the way he'd said she's a good kid. Plain, direct, true. She thought about the way he sat on that tailgate with the guitar on his knee, and his hat pushed back and his face completely unguarded in the way that faces are when people don't know they're being watched. She did not let herself think about any of that. She went to bed and thought about all of it. The problem began, as problems often did, with someone else's good intentions. Roy Alderman had a son named Derek Alderman, 30 years old, who managed the business side of the ranch from an office in Amarillo and came out to the property on weekends. Derek was smart, efficient, and possessed of the particular confidence that comes from growing up inside money and believing you'd earned it by proximity. He was not malicious. He was simply the kind of person who processed information quickly and drew conclusions without always taking the time to question them. He arrived on a Saturday morning, noticed Cole's truck parked near the East Corral fence with a guitar visible in the back window, and asked his father what that was about. Roy explained simply. The blind girl from the Weston property came to listen. Cole played for her in the afternoons. Derek's face did something complicated. He looked at the guitar, looked at the fence line, looked at the Weston house in the distance. The Weston property, he said, as in Diane Weston, Agricor. Roy nodded. Derek said nothing more about it that morning. But by afternoon, he had done his research, and by evening, he found Cole in the equipment barn repacking a wheel bearing. You know who she is? Derek said. Not a question. Cole looked up. Miss Weston? Yeah, you know what she's worth. Cole turned back to the wheel bearing. That's her business. Derek leaned against the barn door. He was wearing clean boots and a vest that cost more than Cole's monthly pay. I'm just saying, she's out here alone. Her kid's taken a shine to you. She's spending evenings at your fence line. He paused. A man could make something of a situation like that. Cole set down the wrench. He set it down slowly and deliberately, the way he did things when he was controlling something internal. He turned to look at Derek without expression. What are you suggesting? He said. His voice was even. Derek raised his hand slightly, a gesture of innocence that acknowledged the lack of it. I'm not suggesting anything wrong. I'm just saying she's lonely, you're available, and that's a lot of money on the other side of that fence. Cole held his gaze for a moment. I'm going to ask you not to say anything like that again, he said. To me, or to anyone else. Derek studied him. You're serious, completely, Cole said. Derek pushed off the barn door. Suit yourself, he said, and walked out. Cole stood in the barn for a long time. He heard the equipment, the cattle, the wind. He heard the echo of Derek's words, a lot of money on the other side of that fence, and felt the particular ugliness of having a thing named that way, a thing that had been clean, He had not thought about Diane Weston's money. He genuinely hadn't. He thought about her face when she moved her chair closer to the fence. He thought about the way she listened, with her whole body, the way Lily did, which made sense because Lily must have learned it from somewhere. He thought about the laugh she'd surprised herself with on Thursday afternoon, when he'd sung a ridiculous old comedy song that had been his uncle's favorite. None of that had anything to do with money. But Derek had named it, and now it existed as a possibility in the air, and Cole hated that. The change in him was subtle, too subtle for Lily to notice, or at least that's what Cole told himself. He was quieter the next afternoon. He played, but talked less. When Diane asked him a question about himself, she'd been asking more of those lately, careful but genuine. He answered briefly and turned the conversation. Diane noticed. She was too observant not to notice. She didn't say anything immediately, but on the second day of his altered manner. She waited until Lily had walked back toward the house before she turned to Cole and said, "Did something happen?" He looked at her. "You don't have to tell me," she said. "But you've been different." Cole set his guitar against the truck tire. He looked at the fence line for a moment. He was a direct man and he disliked the alternative. "Derek Alderman said something," he said, "about the situation, about you." Diane's expression didn't change dramatically. She was practiced at keeping her face, but something sharpened in her eyes. "What did he say?" Cole told her. Plainly, without softening it. Diane was quiet for a long moment. The wind moved through the mesquite, a cowload somewhere in the back pasture. "And what do you think?" she asked. Her voice was careful. "I think it was ugly and it wasn't true," Cole said. "But I also think once something like that gets said, it changes how you see what you're doing, whether you want it to or not." He paused. "I've been trying to figure out if I'm angry or just sad about that." Diane looked at him for a long time. He met her eyes, didn't look away, didn't deflect. "I've had people approach me because of the money my whole adult life," she said. "I have a system for identifying it. You don't register on that system." "I appreciate that," Cole said. "But I understand why it got to you," she said. "It would get to anyone who cares about doing things with integrity." That word, integrity, landed in a particular way. It wasn't the word most people would have used. Most people would have said honesty or intentions. Integrity was more specific. It was about the coherence of a person with themselves. Cole nodded slowly. "For what it's worth," Diane said, standing up and folding her chair. "I came out here every afternoon before I talked to you. I watched you play for my daughter without any interest in anything from me. That's not something you manufacture." She picked up her chair. "See you tomorrow, Cole." She walked back to the gate. Cole stood by his truck and watched her, and it occurred to him, with a clarity that was slightly alarming, that Diane Weston was the most precise person he had ever met. She did not waste words. She did not waste gestures. She said exactly what she meant and trusted you to receive it accurately. He found that extraordinary. The following week, Lily asked him to teach her to play. He thought about it for a moment, then lifted her carefully up onto the tailgate and set the guitar in her lap. Her hands went to it immediately, exploring the curve of the body, the tension of the strings, the worn grooves in the neck. "Put your left hand here," Cole said, guiding her fingers to the neck. "Feel those strings. You're going to press down just behind the metal bar. That one." She pressed tentatively. He adjusted her finger placement. "Now strum with your right hand, just flat across." The chord rang out rough and bright. Lily went completely still. Then, "I made that." "You made that," Cole confirmed. She strummed again, harder. The chord rang again. She strummed 3 more times rapidly, then started laughing. Diane, in her folding chair, put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes were bright. Cole taught Lily 3 chords that afternoon. She remembered them all. She played the same sequence for 20 minutes without getting bored, just listening to the sound she was making, astonished by it. "I'm going to be a musician," Lily announced. "I think you might be," Cole said. "Or a veterinarian," she added, revising. "Those aren't mutually exclusive," Diane said from her chair. "What's that mean?" Lily asked. It means you can be both, Diane said. Lily considered this with great seriousness. I'm going to be both, she decided. Cole caught Diane's eye over Lily's head. There was something in her face, something warm and fractured and overwhelmingly human, the face of a person being cracked open in a gentle way, like light through shutters. She looked away quickly. Cole looked down at Lily's hands on the strings. He understood that what was happening between the adults was real and delicate, and that it had the particular vulnerability of things that had grown naturally, without plan, the kind that couldn't survive being rushed. He also understood, for the first time with full clarity, that Diane was afraid of it. That night, a call came that Diane had been expecting and dreading. Sandra Voss, her former mother-in-law, Warren's mother, called to inform Diane that Warren intended to file a renewed custody motion. His attorney had found new grounds, Sandra said, though Sandra herself seemed to take no pleasure in delivering the news. She had always been more honest with Diane than her son had. The grounds were vague but strategic. Warren's legal team intended to argue that Diane's work schedule constituted ongoing neglect of Lily's emotional needs. They had affidavits from Lily's previous therapist who had been let go by Diane after a disagreement about treatment approach, and from the principal of Lily's school, who had noted in a report that Lily sometimes presented as emotionally withdrawn and lacking engagement with peers. Diane sat at the kitchen table after the call with her phone face down in front of her and her hands flat on the table. The house was quiet. Lily was asleep. Through the window, the stars were still there, still dense and structural, as if nothing had happened. She had known this was a possibility. She had known for months that Warren was building a case. Her attorney in Dallas, Patricia N.G., had been monitoring it. But knowing something intellectually and having it arrive as a phone call on a quiet Tuesday night were different experiences entirely. She thought about what Warren's team would do with the past 2 weeks. A mother who had taken her daughter to a remote property in the Panhandle, away from her school, her therapy appointments, her routine, who spent afternoons at a fence line watching a ranch hand play guitar. She could hear it already, framed by a good attorney. My client has concerns about Miss Weston's judgment and the appropriateness of her daughter's environment and relationships. Diane picked up her phone and called Patricia N.G. The call lasted 90 minutes. When it was over, Patricia had given her a clear assessment and a clear directive: return to Dallas within the week, resume Lily's normal schedule, avoid anything that could be characterized as unconventional or unstable in Lily's environment. Relationships with unfamiliar individuals, no matter how well-intentioned, could be framed negatively in a custody context, Patricia had said, precisely. Diane understood what that meant. She sat at the kitchen table until well past midnight. She thought about Lily's laugh. She thought about "I made that." She thought about Cole saying integrity wasn't a word he'd used himself. She'd used it, and he'd received it without self-consciousness because it was accurate and he knew it. She thought about Patricia N.G.'s voice, unfamiliar individuals. She thought about how wrong that was and how precisely right it might look on paper. She told Cole the next afternoon. She waited until Lily had grown absorbed in a conversation with one of the ranch's older border collies, a dog named Scout that it adopted. Lily, with the enthusiasm of a creature who'd been waiting his whole life for exactly this assignment, and then she walked to where Cole was cleaning a bridle near his truck. "I have to tell you something," she said. He looked up. He read her face in a second, some shift in her posture, some quality of her voice. He set the bridle down. She told him the custody motion, the attorney's advice, the framing that would be used. Cole listened without interrupting. He leaned against the truck and looked at the ground while she talked, and when she finished, he nodded once slowly. "Okay," he said. I want you to understand that I'm not." She stopped and restarted. "I don't think you're unfamiliar. That's Patricia's language, not mine. I understand the difference," Cole said. "We'll be leaving by Saturday," she said. I think it's better to. You don't need to explain, Cole said. Your daughter comes first, that's right. Diane looked at him and felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. The particular grief of a door being closed on something good. Something you knew was good. Something you were closing yourself because you had to. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be, Cole said. You're handling it correctly. That was somehow the worst and best thing he could have said. It was so entirely without self-pity or resentment that it made her chest ache. Cole, she started. Miss Weston, he said gently. She stopped. Go back to Dallas, he said. Win your case. Make sure Lily's okay. She held his gaze for a moment. He was looking at her with that same unguarded quality she'd first noticed. Direct, present, unperformed. Okay, she said. She went to get Lily. The next 2 days were quieter. Lily still came to the fence. Cole still played. But the adults spoke less, and what they said was more careful, as if they were both protecting the remaining time from being ruined by the thing they weren't saying. On the last full day, Lily asked Cole if he would come to Dallas to play for her. Cole was quiet for a moment. He looked at Diane. Diane looked at her hands. Maybe someday, he said. I've got cattle to tend. The cattle could come too, Lily said with full sincerity. Cole laughed, a real laugh, genuine and unguarded. I'll propose that to the aldermans, he said. Lily was satisfied with this. That evening, after Lily had gone inside, Diane came to the fence one last time. Cole was still there, sitting on the tailgate. He wasn't playing. He was just sitting, looking at the sky going dark. She stood at the fence and looked at the same sky. For what it's worth, she said after a long moment, this was the best 2 weeks I've had in years. That's because of you as much as anything else. Cole nodded. It was good, he said, simple and true. If things were different, she started. Things are what they are, Cole said. Not unkindly, just accurately. She nodded. She put her hand briefly on the top fence rail, not reaching toward him, just touching the wood. Then she walked back to the house. They left Saturday morning. Cole was already out in the west pasture when he heard a vehicle on the gravel road. He didn't go back. He worked the fence line in the opposite direction until the sound was gone. The weeks that followed were ordinary in the way that weeks become ordinary after something shifts. Cole worked. The cattle needed what they always needed. The land demanded its maintenance. Roy Alderman was diagnosed with a minor cardiac issue and took to spending more time in the house, which meant Cole took on additional responsibilities and worked longer hours, which was fine. Longer hours were fine. Derek Alderman did not bring up Diane Weston again. Cole suspected Roy had said something. He didn't ask. He played guitar in the evenings in front of the foreman's house, sitting in a plastic chair on the gravel patio, playing for no one. The playing felt different without an audience, but not lesser, just different, more internal. He found himself writing, occasionally, which he hadn't done seriously since his 20s. A verse here, a melody there. Nothing he'd call a song exactly. Just the process. He did not contact Diane Weston. She had not contacted him. This was correct, and he knew it, and knowing it didn't prevent the occasional evening hour where the correct thing felt indistinguishable from the hard thing. Patricia N.G.'s assessment proved accurate. Warren Voss's custody motion was filed in the 3rd week of November. It alleged emotional neglect, instability, and, as Diane had predicted, exposure to inappropriate relationships and environments. The motion included photographs taken by a private investigator of Cole and Diane talking at the fence line. The photographs were anodyne, 2 people standing at a fence, talking, but in the context of a custody filing, Patricia said. They would be characterized as evidence of Diane's poor judgment in exposing her daughter to romantic relationships with employees. The language was clinical and wrong and designed to be effective. Diane read the filing in her office in Dallas, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and the city's glittering skyline doing nothing useful behind her, and felt a fury so complete it was almost clarifying. Patricia told her to stay calm. The case was manageable. They had the stronger record. Warren's case relied on inference and framing, and the actual evidence of neglect was thin. The therapist's affidavit was from a professional Diane had legitimately dismissed for cause. The school report had been written by a principal who'd since retired, and whose methodology had been questioned in another context. "We're going to be fine," Patricia said. "But I need you steady, and I need you conventional. Can you do that?" "Yes," Diane said. She was excellent at conventional. She had been conventional for years. She called Marcus. "I need you to pull the Q4 board deck," she said, "and schedule the AgriCorps Foundation reception for the second week of December." "The board deck is pulled," Marcus said. "What happened?" Warren filed, she said. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "All right," he said. "I've got you. What else do you need?" "I need to work," she said. "Then let's work," Marcus said. In Amarillo in the second week of December, a cold front moved in from the north and dropped the temperature 40 degrees in 18 hours. Cole spent 2 days breaking ice on the water troughs and checking on the older cattle in the north pasture. His hands cracked and bled at the knuckles, and he wrapped them at night and went back out in the morning. On the third day, Roy Alderman came to the foreman's house with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses, and sat down at the small kitchen table without being invited, because he was Roy Alderman, and it was his property. "You all right?" Roy asked. "Fine," Cole said. Roy poured. They drank. "She sold the western property," Roy said after a time. Cole looked up. "Last week," Roy said. "Sold it to a water rights developer from Lubbock. I got the notice from the county." He looked at his glass. "Thought you should know." Cole considered this. "Okay," he said. Roy studied him. "You want to talk about it?" "No," Cole said. Roy nodded. He poured again. They sat with the cold coming through the window frame and the whiskey going down warm, and Roy Alderman, who had not achieved his 62 years by being stupid about human situations, said nothing further. The silence was its own kind of acknowledgement. Diane sold the property on the advice of Patricia Ng, who suggested that the private investigator photographs would have less courtroom power if the location in them no longer had any connection to Diane's life. It was a legal strategy, and it was sound, and Diane signed the papers in 10 minutes on a Tuesday morning between 2 other meetings. She did not let herself think about the fence, the crate, the sound of a guitar in the dry afternoon air. She was very, very good at not thinking about things when she decided not to. She was slightly less good at it than she had been lately. The custody hearing was scheduled for the second week of January. Diane prepared with a thoroughness she applied to everything. She brought documentation of every medical appointment, every educational resource, every specialist consultation for Lily's condition. She brought records of AgriCorps' flex schedule policy, which she had implemented 3 years ago and had personally used more in the past 6 months than in the previous 3 years combined. She brought a letter from Lily's new therapist, Dr. Susan Calloway, recommended by the previous therapist before the dismissal, a detail Patricia used to neutralize the affidavit, describing Lily's measurable emotional progress and stable attachment to her mother. She brought on Patricia's insistence and against her own instincts, a record of the 2 weeks in Amarillo, the context, the location, the nature of Lily's activities there. Patricia had framed it in the documentation as structured recreational enrichment in a rural setting, supporting Lily's sensory development and emotional well-being. Cole Hardin was not named in the documentation. He was referred to once as a ranch employee on an adjacent property who had briefly interacted with Lily in a supervised context. Diane read that phrase and set down the document and looked at the wall for a long moment. Then she picked it back up and kept reading. The hearing lasted 3 days. Warren Voss had a good attorney, Robert Finley, sharp and experienced, who handled the photographs and the affidavits with skilled precision. He painted Diane as a woman whose professional success had come at the direct expense of her daughter's emotional stability, a woman who had substituted financial provision for genuine presence, who had outsourced her child's care while building a billion-dollar company, who had then when her routine was interrupted by a custody threat, retreated to a rural property, and formed an unclear attachment with an hourly employee on a neighboring ranch. Finley was good at his job. Several of his points landed. Patricia Ng was better at hers. She walked the court through the complete record of Diane's involvement in Lily's medical care, education, and therapeutic support. She presented Dr. Calloway's testimony, which was calm and specific and addressed the emotional withdrawal concern directly. Lily's withdrawal had been documented during the worst period of the divorce proceedings, when both parents had been distracted and distant, not during Diane's primary custody period. The therapist described Lily's current presentation as notably improved, emotionally expressive, and securely attached to her primary caregiver. Patricia presented a video that Diane had not known she had until 2 days before the hearing. It was recorded by Rachel Simmons, Diane's assistant, who had been present on one of the Amarillo afternoons at Diane's request, handling work correspondence from the Westham house, and it showed through a window Lily sitting on her crate outside the fence, laughing, playing a guitar chord, turning her face toward the sky. It lasted 40 seconds. It was not professionally shot. It was real. Robert Finley objected to the video's admission. The judge allowed it. The judge's decision was rendered 6 days after the hearing closed. Primary custody remained with Diane Weston. The court found no evidence of neglect and specifically noted that the mother's documented commitment to Lily's medical, educational, and emotional needs was extensive and consistent. Warren was granted expanded visitation 2 weekends per month instead of 1, and 2 weeks in the summer, which Patricia had anticipated, and which Diane accepted without contest because it was fair. Diane received the decision in Patricia's office. She read it twice, set it down, and said nothing for a moment. "We won," Patricia said unnecessarily. "Yes," Diane said. "Are you all right?" "I'm going to go get Lily from school," Diane said. "I'll call you tomorrow." She picked Lily up from the Whitfield School for the Blind in a neighborhood of North Dallas, where the trees were tall and the sidewalks were wide and smooth. Lily came out with her cane and her backpack, and her face turned toward the sound of Diane's car. And when she reached the passenger door, she opened it herself and climbed in with the practiced efficiency of a child who had made this particular peace with her particular world. "How was school?" Diane asked. "We learned about volcanoes," Lily said. "They describe the colors. Red, like you said, the heat off a truck." Diane looked over at her daughter. "Cole said that," Diane said quietly. "I know," Lily said. "I remembered it from him." A pause. "Can we call Cole?" Diane was quiet for a moment. "Maybe," she said. Lily accepted this. She looked out the window. Not at anything, just out, receiving the city through sound and sensation. "I miss him," Lily said. "I know," Diane said. She drove for a while in silence. The Dallas afternoon was gray and thick, the sky low and urban, nothing like the Panhandle sky. "Mom," Lily said. "Yes, you miss him too." It was not a question. Lily was 7, and blind and brilliant, and she had inherited her mother's precision with languish and her mother's terrifying accuracy about people. Diane kept her eyes on the road. "Yes," she said, "I do." She did not call Cole that night. She was not impulsive, she never had been, and she was not going to become impulsive now, when Lily's life had just been stabilized. She needed to be thoughtful. She needed to be certain of what she wanted, and what it would cost, and what it would mean. She gave herself a week. It was actually 5 days. She found the Alderman Ranch number through the county property records. She had technically used AgriCorps' research department to locate it, which was either resourceful or slightly absurd, and she chose not to examine which. She called on a Friday morning from her car, parked outside the AgriCorps building because she didn't want to make the call from her office. It rang 4 times. She was composing a message in her head for voicemail. "Alderman Ranch," said a voice she recognized. She had not expected him to answer the main line. "Cole," she said. A pause. "Miss Weston." "Diane," she said. Please. Another pause. Diane, he said. She had 3 things she'd planned to say. None of them came out first. What came out was, "We won the hearing." "I'm glad," he said. And she could tell he meant it, completely and without reservation. He meant it because it was about Lily, and everything with Cole came back to what was actually right. "Lily remembered something you said," Diane said, "about the color red. She used it in school. She heard something in the phone, a quiet exhale, almost but not quite a laugh." "Good," he said. "She misses you," Diane said. "Tell her I said the Collie Scout misses her too," Cole said. "Because he does. He's been parking himself at the fence corner every afternoon." Diane closed her eyes briefly. "Cole," she said. "Yeah, I want to come back," she said. "Not to the property. I sold it." "But to," she stopped. She was not a woman who struggled to complete sentences. She was struggling now. "I want to come back to whatever that was," she said. "I want to find out what it could be. Without the custody case hanging over it, without the pressure, without Patricia NG's framework for what's appropriate." The line was quiet. "That's the most words I've ever said at once to you," she said with a short, self-aware laugh. "I noticed," Cole said. Is that something you'd want?" she asked. The wind was audible through the line. She could picture the panhandle afternoon, the flat land, the sky. Scout parked at the fence corner. "I've been writing songs," Cole said. "Not for any reason, just things come up. One of them is about a woman who moves her chair closer to the fence." Diane was quiet. "That probably answers your question," Cole said. She put her hand over her mouth for a moment. Then she said carefully, "I don't know what this looks like practically." "Our lives are very different, yes," he said. "I'm not going to pretend the distance is nothing," she said. "I know," he said. "I'm not asking you to." "What are you asking?" she said. A pause. "I'm asking you to come out sometime," he said. "Bring Lily. We'll see what's there." It was the most honest and unromantic and perfect thing he could have said. It was exactly how he would say it. No overclaiming, no performance, just an honest opening. "Okay," she said. She came on the first Saturday in February. Lily was in the back seat talking continuously from the moment they turned off the paved road onto the gravel, narrating the sounds, the crunch of gravel under the tires, the smell of dust and cattle that reached them, even through the closed windows, the change in the air pressure as the open land replaced the city. "We're almost there," Diane said. "I know," Lily said. "I can smell Scout." She probably couldn't smell Scout from a moving car. But she was not wrong about much, so Diane said nothing. Cole was at the gate when they pulled up. He was wearing what he always wore, jeans, a work shirt, boots worn to the shape of his feet. He wasn't dressed up. He was just there, present, the way he was always present. Lily got out of the car and said "Cole," and walked directly to him with her cane, covering the distance without hesitation. He crouched down to her level. "Hey Lily, I've been practicing the wind one," she said. "On a real guitar, Mom bought me one." "Let's hear it later," Cole said. "It's not very good yet," she said. "Mine wasn't very good for the first year either," Cole said. "That's not how it works." Lily considered this with the seriousness she applied to all useful information. "Okay," she said. "Then, where's Scout?" As if on cue, the border collie came around the side of the truck at a controlled trot, tail moving with the restrained enthusiasm of a well-trained dog who was nonetheless extremely pleased. Lily heard him coming, the particular sound of his paws on gravel, and turned toward him. And Scout walked directly into her open hands and stood there being thoroughly examined by small fingers. "He remembers me," Lily said. "He does," Cole said. Diane had gotten out of the car and was standing a few feet back, watching. Cole straightened up and looked at her. She looked at him. The panhandle wind moved between them, carrying dust and the smell of dry grass and something that might have been the last of winter, releasing its grip. "Hi," she said. "Hi," he said. It was not the opening line of a great romantic story. It was better than that. It was two people who had already said the hard things and the honest things and now had the luxury of the simple things. Roy's got coffee on, Cole said. He's been asking about you. Diane raised an eyebrow. About me? He doesn't say much, Cole said, but he asks. He paused. You made an impression. By sitting in a folding chair at a fence line? By being a person instead of a company, Cole said. Roy notices that. Diane looked at him for a moment. She thought about what Marcus had said. You sound like a person. She thought about how strange it was that this had become something worth noticing, something worth remarking on. Let's go have coffee, she said. Roy Alderman received them at his kitchen table with the formality and warmth of a man who expressed welcome through practical hospitality rather than words. He had biscuits. He had good coffee. He had a way of addressing Lily directly and without condescension that immediately established him in her internal ranking of trustworthy adults. You the young lady learning guitar? Roy asked. Yes, Lily said. I know 3 chords. That's one more than I ever learned, Roy said. You should learn, Lily said with gentle authority. It's not that hard. Roy looked at Cole with an expression that said, I like this child enormously. Cole looked at his coffee. Diane sat at Roy Alderman's kitchen table in Amarillo, Texas, and drank coffee and listened to her daughter instruct a 62-year-old cattle rancher on the importance of musical education, and felt with a completeness that was almost physical, like a person who had arrived somewhere after a very long journey, not knowing the destination existed. She had not planned for this. She had not built a strategy for it or optimized it or projected its outcomes. It had simply grown the way things grew in good soil without being forced. That afternoon, they went to the East Corral. Lily brought her guitar, a 3/4 size acoustic that Diane had bought from a music shop in Dallas, fitted with slightly lighter strings because Lily's fingers were still small. Cole brought his from the truck. They sat on the tailgate together, Cole on one side, Lily in the middle, the guitars across their laps. Diane sat in her folding chair. She had brought the folding chair. She had put it in the trunk that morning without thinking about it too hard, and Cole had noticed it without saying anything, which was precisely the right response. The sky was doing what the Panhandle sky did best in February, an enormous pale blue crossed with long white clouds moving steadily south, and the light was the clear, hard winter light that made everything look both stark and beautiful. Cole played the opening of the cow song. Lily found the chord and came in, rough at the transition but accurate in her timing. Cole adjusted his tempo slightly to accommodate her unconsciously, the way musicians do when they're actually listening. Down by the river, where the cottonwoods grow, the water runs shallow and the cattails blow. Lily knew the words now. She had learned them all, from all the songs. She'd asked Diane to find recordings of similar folk songs so she could absorb the genre, understand its structures. She sang in a small voice that was already showing the particular quality of someone with a true ear. She didn't push it, didn't perform it, she just sang. Diane watched them and did not try to manage what she was feeling. She let it be what it was. It was, she decided, the sound of something being repaired. Not fixed, repaired. The distinction mattered. Fixed implied a return to original condition. Repaired implied something that bore the marks of its damage and was valuable anyway, stronger in the mended places, more honest in its imperfection. She had spent years trying to fix things: the company, the marriage, the distance between herself and her daughter. Fixing required control, required systems, required the application of sufficient force and intelligence. She was excellent at fixing things. She was less practiced at repair, which required patience, and the willingness to leave something alone while it knit itself back together, and the humility to acknowledge that you couldn't engineer the outcome, you could only provide the conditions. Cole Hardin, she thought, was someone who understood repair at a cellular level. It was in how he treated the land, the animals, the people around him. He didn't force things, he provided conditions. She had been watching him do it for months, from behind a gate, then from a folding chair, then from across a kitchen table in a Dallas high-rise where his absence had been its own kind of presence. She watched him now playing an old song with her blind daughter on a wooden tailgate in the Texas winter, completely without artifice, completely himself, and understood that what she felt for this man was not the product of proximity or loneliness or the romance of contrast, rich and poor, city and land, complexity and simplicity. It was more specific than any of those categories. She loved the way he paid attention. She loved the way he told the truth. She loved that he had never once tried to be impressive, not for a single moment. When the sun got low and the cold came back with intent, they packed up. Lily carried her guitar case with both hands, navigating the gravel lot with Scout at her left knee. He had appointed himself her guide for the afternoon, walking precisely at her pace, course-correcting when she drifted. "He's doing that on purpose," Lily said with delight. "Border collies are smart," Cole said. "He figured out what she needed." "Does he do that with everyone?" Diane asked. "Just her," Cole said. Diane looked at the dog, then at her daughter, then at Cole. "Come to Dallas," she said. It came out simply, without the hesitation of the phone call. "Not tomorrow. Not with expectations. Just come. Lily wants to play for you in her actual room, and there's a park near our house that has good trees." Cole smiled. He didn't smile often, which meant that when he did, it registered. "Good trees," he said. "That's a recommendation I can work with. There's a music store on the street," she said. "Owner's been there 30 years. You'd like him." "You've been thinking about this," Cole said. "I've been thinking about all of it," she said without apology. He looked at her for a long moment. The low winter sun was behind her, and the light was in his eyes, and he squinted slightly, which made the lines around his eyes deepen in the particular way that faces do when they've spent years in outdoor light. "I'll come in March," he said. "Roy owes me time." "March is good," she said. They stood there in the cold for a moment, not rushing toward anything, not closing the space between them in any dramatic way. That wasn't who they were, not individually, and not yet together. Cole reached out and adjusted the guitar case strap on Lily's shoulder, which had slipped. Lily said thanks without interrupting the song she was humming to herself. Diane watched his hands, careful, certain, the hands of someone who fixed things that needed fixing and left alone what needed time. She thought, this is what it looks like. Not the version in movies or the version in the stories that other people told. The actual version. This. "Drive safe," Cole said. "We will," Diane said. She walked Lily to the car. She buckled her in. She came around to the driver's side and got in and adjusted the mirror and started the engine. "Mom," Lily said. "Yeah." "When Cole comes in March," Lily said, "can we take him to the aquarium? They have a touch pool." Diane looked at her daughter. "Yes," she said. "We can do that." "He'll like it," Lily said, with the confidence of a person who knew her information to be accurate.
"I think you're right,"
Diane said. She pulled onto the gravel road and drove south. In the rearview mirror, the Alderman Ranch receded. The corral, the truck, the fence-saline. Cole standing at the gate, watching them leave. Not waving dramatically, just watching. The way people watched things they intended to return to. March came. Cole drove to Dallas in his truck with a clean shirt and his guitar, and no particular plan beyond the address Diane had texted him. The drive was 6 hours, and he listened to old country stations until they faded, and then drove in silence, which was fine. He had always been comfortable in silence. Dallas hit him like a physical wall, the density of it, the noise, the way the buildings compressed the sky into a narrow strip above the expressway. He did not love it. He navigated it carefully, the way he navigated unfamiliar terrain, methodically, without panic, paying attention. The house was in a quiet neighborhood north of downtown, wide, lawed, and tree-lined, the kind of street that had been established for decades. The trees were, as Diane had promised, good ones, live oaks that had spread broad and unhurried, spreading their canopy over the sidewalk as if they'd been there before the street and expected to be there after. Lily heard the truck from inside the house. He learned this because the front door opened before he'd shut off the engine, and she came down the porch steps with her cane and her guitar case, wearing a yellow jacket that might have been the same one she'd worn the first day or might have been a new one. He couldn't be sure. "I've been working on the sleepy one," she announced by way of greeting. "Show me," he said. Diane appeared in the doorway. She was wearing a gray sweater and her feet were bare on the porch, and she looked like a person who had been home for several hours and had stopped performing for the day. She looked, the only word he had for it, rested. Not physically. Something deeper. "You found it," she said. "Good trees," he said. "Just like you said." She smiled. She came down the steps and they stood in the thin March sunlight on the front walk, and it was ordinary and specific and not like anything in a song. It was better than being in a song. "Come in," she said. "Lily's made a set list." "Of course she has," Cole said. They went inside. Later that evening, after the aquarium, after the touch pool where Cole had stood patiently while a starfish was placed in his hands by an enthusiastic marine educator, after a dinner that Diane had cooked herself for the first time in longer than she could precisely remember, after Lily had performed her set list with focused seriousness and Cole had offered precise and honest and kind feedback, Cole sat on the back porch of Diane Weston's Dallas's house with his guitar on his knee. The backyard was modest by the standards of what he assumed a person of her means might have, well kept, brick paved, with the live oak extending one long branch over the patio. String lights had been hung at some point, suggesting Lily or the previous owners, and they cast a warm, unfussy light over the space. Diane brought 2 glasses of wine and sat in the chair beside him. "The starfish," she said. "The starfish," he agreed. "You didn't have to hold it for that long." The educator seemed very invested in the moment, he said. "I didn't want to disappoint her." Diane laughed, the laugh he'd first heard behind a fence line, the one she surprised herself with. It was the same laugh in a different place, and it was still the best sound in whatever room it was in. He played for a while. Nothing particular, just the same wandering finger-picking in G that he'd played the first afternoon, the melody that had no name except in Lily's taxonomy. "What are you going to do?" Diane asked after a time. He understood the question was large. "About what part?" he said. "About all of it," she said. "The ranch, the distance, this," he considered. "I'm going to tend cattle in Amarillo," he said. "You're going to run a company in Dallas. We're going to figure out the part in between." "That's very practical," she said. "I'm a practical person," he said. "I know," she said. "I find it extremely appealing and occasionally maddening." He looked at her. She was looking at the string lights. Her wine glass was in both hands and her feet were tucked up under her in the chair. And she looked, he thought, nothing like the founder of a billion-dollar company. She looked like a person. "I wrote a song," he said. She looked at him. "The one about the woman who moves her chair." "Parts of it," he said. "It's not finished. Will you play what you have?" He shifted the guitar and played it. It was 3 verses and a chorus that still needed a bridge, and the melody was simple in the way that melodies were simple when they'd grown out of something real rather than being constructed. He sang it quietly, not performing, just playing it the way he'd played everything for whoever was there, present, listening. The last chord faded into the Dallas night, the city's sounds, the distant traffic, the wind through the live oak. Diane was quiet for a long moment. "It's good, Cole," she said. "It's a start," he said. "Most things are," she said. She reached over and put her hand on his, not dramatically, not as a declaration, just a hand on a hand, warm and certain, in the string-light dark of a Dallas backyard where a 7-year-old girl was asleep inside with the guitar at the foot of her bed and a collie she'd already claimed in spirit, if not yet in possession. And the live oak branch moved slowly overhead, and the story was not finished. It was like the song, a start. And that was enough.